What is going on?
G'day, Tex and Ads, your crypto spirit guides here with you once again. Thanks so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Hey, listen, if you like what we're doing and you love all these free daily updates and all the tons of free content that we provide here at UTG, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and sign up and get those notifications. And every time we go live and show you what we're thinking is happening on BTC or other currencies, the DXY Forex, you'll get instant updates to that. So follow along. I said 99% of what we do here is free at UTG. So go ahead and hit that button. All right, today, Bitcoin, we're sitting in limbo here. We're seeing this major formation that we're seeing on the screen, this triangle formation. Typically, you would expect with these formations that an upside break is usually what we see as of late when these formations do appear. But hey, it could definitely go the other way. Ads. What are we seeing on BTC? And we're going to jump into F and the DXY in just a second as well. So stick around.
BTC, I spoke about this formation last night, to be honest, and we really identified these trend lines, although
Yeah.
they are not the best in the way of, objectivity, as far as objectivity goes with trend lines, but they are there. And we have been bouncing around in them for quite some time, and we are getting squeezed into a corner now, and hopefully we are going to get the result that we're looking for. The result that we're looking for really is a break in either direction that is of some substantial movement. It can be up or down. It doesn't bother us really, but substantial movement to give us some market structure would be nice. So hopefully we are seeing the start of that now, and I'll zoom in just so you guys can get a decent glimpse of what we're looking at right now. So we are sitting at the end of this formation and we are looking like we might break to the downside. However, it's still early days. There's still 3 hours and 3 and a bit hours left in this candle tie. So look, if we do break to the downside, the 6-1 fib level that I'm looking at down below at 18,500 would be the area that I would look for initially.
Yeah, and for the new guys that are watching, thank you so much to all the new people that are subscribing and commenting and watching these videos. It's great to have you on board. So with this triangle formation that we're seeing here now, there's a couple of different ways that this could break, and whether you want to wait for the next 4 hour candle to close or you want to make a decision based on what appears to be this sort of bearish candle forming at the moment. There's a couple of different ways that this can go. So with the triangle formation, what we can have is we can have a break to the upside here. We might end up testing a previous high. I'm just going to get these things out of the way on my Zoom screen. We could test a previous high, so we could come back down here. We could retest this overall downtrend line and then make another move upwards. And I guess the formation of this triangle is categorized by what is called lower highs. We're not breaking above these previous high wicks, but on the other side of that, we're also not breaking below this previous low wick. So we're making higher lows, but we're making lower highs, which forms this triangle formation. So on the other side of that, we can also see it break to the downside, where we might see a formation like this. We might hit this previous low or this sort of previous support level here, which is indicated by this 61 fib level, and then have a bearish retest of this overall downtrend or uptrend line rather, and then continuing back down. And if we zoom out a little bit, as you can see, we have this secondary trend line drawn in, which is drawn by forming this previous low candles down here. Ads, if we just zoom out just a little bit more, yeah, we've got these previous touches. So I guess quite significant touches down here,
Absolutely.
which has resulted in this final touch here with the lines with our demand zone. And then we've also got this sort of momentary pivot or a momentary sort of lapse before this next leg up where this demand zone sits. So if we had a bearish retest, we might end up going down below this formation, hitting the 61, coming back up, retesting this overall trend line, and then bouncing or dropping back down to this overall larger trend line and this demand zone. Ads.
It would be the play that I would really like to see happen, to be honest with you. It's had a ridiculous run. You know, we've seen lows of 5,000, even lower than that this year, and now we're sitting at 1944. So look, it's been a good run, and it does need a decent correction. If we still look at the higher time frames, we can still see that is the case, because this run has been ridiculous. Good. I'm not saying bad. Good. But it has been quite a sharp uptrend. So the problem with sharp uptrends, as we have seen in the past, they tend to give it all back. Not saying that we're going to see, $5,000 again, but we could see some significant retracements, and I've seen that same sort of sentiment across a lot of different traders, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is. It's still the consensus that we're probably going to see a 30 to 35% pullback in the grand scheme of things, at some point. And I think that's I think that is going to be that's a realistic outcome, a realistic thing. If we look at the MAs, just like I got one of the I got someone having a look at the YouTube what's it called, the comments, the 200 MA sitting at 17,395, and then we've got the 100 sitting at 18.5. So looking okay for that 61 at 18.5 tie. Going
totally. And in these sort of larger uptrends, as we see that the 200 kind of acts as I guess you would call it maybe a last line of defense, I suppose, where we can certainly still see breaches below, maybe wicks below that 200 MA, and then we sort of tend to return to the mean of the 200 MA. So yeah, I totally agree with ads. And in our beginner series, unitytradinggroup.com/beginner, we talk about trend lines and we talk about the angles and the significance of angles. Typically, the sharper the angle of the trend line, I guess the less stable, maybe you would call it, than a sustained sort of 45 degree or sort of lower angle is a little bit more sustainable, even though we've had pretty significant and respected touches on this trend line as we've seen. But again, after this sort of run, these sorts of moves are not uncommon. And Ads and I were live streaming a couple of weeks ago when this was occurring, and everyone was freaking out on our timeline, which is totally understandable. But in the scheme of things, after the run that we've had from sort of 9.8, 10K to this top at 19.4, and then a pullback to 16.4, that's still 7-8 grand from where we sort of pulled off from. So if we see these significant rejections off major levels, or if we see these big declines back down to this demand level, or these 30-25% drops, I wouldn't say freak out. Certainly just be mindful that these drops are still healthy in the overall uptrend. We saw Grayscale today announcing another $40 million or 400, was it 400 or $40 million?
I think it was 400.
Invest around. I can't remember what the value was in order to buy more Bitcoin. So these are very big hedge funds and investor firms and people jumping on board now wanting to get into BTC. So you need to put and this is something we've spoken about for a few years now, your investor mind hat or your trader mind hat. Are you looking to acquire BTC at lower levels before potential continuations up to sort of stash away, put in your Alipal or your cold wallet? Or are you looking to trade the short-term trends where, yes, you might want to sell out back into Tether, Pax, USDT, or indeed short these significant levels. So when we see major pullbacks like this, have a plan for every scenario. Have a plan for if we break to the upside. Have a plan if we break to the downside. Don't just have the bias that we're going to continue up because we've seen this particular run. So that's just a very short little spiel there for the new people in this space. Ads, anything else to add to that one, or should we get on to the next coin pair?
Just circling back just very briefly about us streaming the other day, and when we had 70 or 80 people watching or whatever it was, when this drop occurred, this is not surprising, and it's not unheard of, and it will happen again, and probably more violent than that. That was pretty tame. We're talking about 19 to 16.4. That's nothing. We've seen that over and over again. Go back, have a look at the charts, and have a look between even 2017 to now. Have a look at the drops that we've sustained over the over the last 2 years, 3 years. 19.4 to 16. That's nothing for BTC. We can easily see 30, even a 40% pullback, very very quickly and sharp. So going to be decent, and that's what we're anticipating in the longest term scale of things, the macro scale. But in the immediate term, I think we'll probably see that 18.5.
Yep, definitely. I think that's the next point that we need to defend, and we can see here that the 61 that aligns up quite well with that, and sort of is around this kind of
Yeah.
this sort of liquidity zone, I guess you could call it like
Yeah.
that. And then this previous area where we had this level, and then another retest here. So yeah, some interesting times. We are coming into now that sort of that Wednesday, Thursday midweek volatility that we see over here in Oz. So I guess we would be looking, you would imagine if history were to repeat itself, that Wednesday, Thursday, the next 24 to 36 hours might just give us a sense of where we're heading for BTC at the moment, Ads.
Absolutely.
All right, let's dive into the BTC dominance chart and have a look at how we are faring in terms of the dominance at the moment. Ads, we've come down and sort of almost retested this demand zone and had a nice little reaction from that drop that we saw a couple of weeks ago, but we appear to be headed back up to a significant level.
So if I draw the most relevant area of demand in, it gives a bit of a skewed story, and I don't think these levels are going to give you the best representation of where this sort of chart is headed towards, because of just the price action and how it's formed and everything like that. So I think these moves through are not going to give you very accurate information. But anyway, using that as a level of support, I guess, coming back, we're sweeping upwards now, but this really comes, and this really says to me that we've probably made a lower low and we're looking to make a lower high. In this instance, where we've made a higher high, we've changed market direction, made that lower low, and we could be forming that lower high, coming up to this level and then coming back down, and possibly might see the 60% area for the BTC dominance. That is one scenario. The next scenario being, obviously, we come back up and retest this level of supply and then push through that up to the liquidity that we've got to the left-hand side here, and that's a major market pivot point up the top. That's a decent pivot right here. So that could be the next area of interest for the BTC dominance chart, looking towards the upside. But I am swinging towards this lower high scenario and then a retest down at that 60 area. That could give the alts a little bit more time to flourish in the next couple of weeks as we see the end of the year.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that sort of region is going to be important for BTC dominance to keep us headed back up and BTC moving in the right direction, depending on what way you are geared. So as has drawn his fibs, he's drawn it from the swing high to the swing low, because we're now looking for areas of resistance where we might find rejections. And of course, you're not trading dollar amounts necessarily on this chart, but it's good to get an idea of where BTC, at least price, may reverse for a potential short, or looking to get out of any long positions if we do hit this significant. And this golden pocket level being the 50 and the 61 on the Fibonacci being some of the more significant levels when we are looking for rejections.
Absolutely, and that's the area that I'd probably look towards for that lower high scenario. So using the 50 and also the 61 is probably a little bit more liquid at that level. Looking at some of the price action to the left-hand side, we've got these support resistance flip areas, and of course the liquidity just to the left too. So that 61 looks like the area that we might retest for that lower high, and then make that sort of decision there, and then...
All right, FUSDT, my favorite alt pair. Let's jump into that and see how it's moving at the moment. On the shorter time frames, at least, we tend to look at F at times and leading BTC price action. Not always, but certainly on the smaller time frames as of late, when we have decent moves to the downside or smaller moves to the downside on F, BTC and F tend to follow each other, as we know. So as what are we seeing at the moment? We're sort of teetering around this 23 fib level. We've made another lower high here. Do you think we might be making a lower low back down towards this golden pocket and demand zone?
Look, it could be the case, and I've been speaking about this pretty much every single time I do the daily update. And yesterday's daily update isn't probably going to be too much different in terms of my thoughts. I was really, looking at something like this sort of scenario where we're seeing the same very similar formation on F as we are seeing BTC. So that works out okay. But we have been hanging around this 23.6 for quite some time. And there's only so much you can bend a stick before it breaks, to be honest. So it's going to be a point of decision. And I think BTC might lead the pack in this instance, where we've seen Ethereum lead the pack in others. But I think BTC, if we see that break to the downside, which I do think might be the case, towards that 18.5, I believe it was, we spoke about just before, I think this might lead Ethereum down to that 50, that 550. That's a psychological round number, pretty much, at that 550 area for Ethereum, and then very conveniently lining up with the 50 and the 61, and of course our level of demand there. So that's where I think Ethereum might end up in the short term. Could be completely wrong. However, we could retest this upside at that $600 mark, but the downside is looking more likely to me, Ty.
And what are some of our indicators saying? So Unicon and our EMA fan, what are they telling us short term in terms of MA perspective? So yeah, that would align quite well. You can see that the 100 MA is lining up well with our 38 fib level. That 200 over the coming days will be very close towards this demand zone as well. And if we take off that and put on a Unicon indicator, what is that telling us short term? So yeah, so definitely we've had an EMA across. Our 10 and 20 MAs are certainly pointing downwards now, which is, it sort of indicates that immediately above this level we've got some MA resistance. So it'll be very interesting to see how this formation is respected, if at all, and then if we continue to break down towards that 38 and that 50 fib level.
Yeah, look, we've got a lot of indicators and a lot of bits and pieces that we can use on the Unicon indicator. Our super trend, I don't think we've got any super trend exits or entries at the moment. No, we don't. So we've only got that EMA cross to the downside, and we've got some exhaustion playing out, and there's a lot of different bits and pieces that you can have a look at and play with on the Unicon indicator if you're interested. Of course, you can visit our website down the bottom left-hand corner of the screen that you can see if you like to do that. But
1000%. All right, unless we want to have a look at any other alt pairs. Again, I'm out of alts. I'm not trading alts at the minute. I tend to stay away from alts as we lead in towards that Wednesday, sort of Thursday midweek volatility. Any others that you might want to have a look at, Ads?
Look, I've been really keeping an eye on ADA. As I've been trading it for quite some time, and it's really following, as you did say, it's really following Ethereum USD, to be honest, in terms of that price action. We've seen that rejection off the level of supply, as we've seen on ADA, and we're also observing some of these Fibonacci levels towards the downside for that pair also. So I think a lot of these alts, especially the higher cap ones, are going to be playing the same game, to be honest, Ty. So I don't think there's much else we need to really go over in the sense of high cap altcoins. There are definitely some altcoins that have been popping as we've seen in the Discord as of late in the community charts. I know Ferg's been having a play and a dabble around in the lower cap altcoins as of late. It's been doing quite well, but in terms of the high caps, I think they're all following ETH for this point in time.
For sure, yeah. And remember, if you do want to see the stuff that we provide daily here at UTG, especially on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and sign up and get these free updates. Or come over and join us in the Discord as well. As Ad said, we've got a lot of guys trading some charts in there. We're trading, Fergus is trading Uni, and I know Dory, one of our main guys, Mr. 3 Golden Tacos himself, has been trading Cardano a little bit and sharing their strategies on the shorter time frame. So come on over to the Discord, unitytradinggroup.com, and subscribe to that YouTube channel. All right, let's get into the DXY now and round this up. Of course, anything that we share when it comes to these reg markets is opinion only. If you do want more advice, speak to your financial advisor.
So the DXY, we usually look at this on the 4-hour time frame, and it's been playing out quite nicely. And Steamroller makes up a big part of our regulated market update. So Steamroller really giving us the goods there in terms of where we could expect this to sort of give us a rounded edge and see where we could really give us a reversal or even some relief. But last night we were looking at the 61, the 91.11 area, and I was looking at that area just because we had some liquidity to the left-hand side. Again, a support resistance flip where we had support and then we came down and it became resistance, and then we got rejected on a lower time frame. But that 61 at that 91.11 area was the area that I was looking towards for this movement to really come up and get rejected, and we could possibly head back down and continue down towards this 90.40. I think that's still on the cards for the DXY. The trend for the DXY on the macro scale of things has been down. It's been slipping quite badly for the last few months at least. So nothing has changed in this instance. Not until we come up and make some higher highs will my bias change. I'll be looking towards upside targets. But, coming down and respecting these fibs on the way, I think that's what we'll see for the DXY. But of course, I'm looking down towards this 90.40 area, and of course our level of demand just underneath that. But that's it for the DXY. I'll have a quick look at the All Ords and of course the SPX. The All Ords has been pretty stagnated since we looked at it, but it has been moving upwards very, very slowly with a higher high being made yesterday. And of course, if we're looking at the lower time frames to give us a real indication on our direction, we could probably draw our fibs from swing low to high as we did just earlier on Ethereum. And we could expect this to give us that little bit of a retrace, maybe to the 38.2 before moving to the upside again if we get that momentum continuing on the All Ords. But of course, we're looking like we'll get that pullback to the 38 as our indicators have just been outlining these movements very, very accurately. So that's our steamroller indicator available in the link down below. But if we look at the last one for tonight, the SPX USD or the S&P 500, this has just been moving to the upside very slowly, as is the All Ords as well. And no surprise, however, we are meeting that higher level with some of these indicators as well, Ty. So I think a pullback is in order, and I'll be looking for some support if I look at this one in particular, and of course that 3637 or 3640 if you want to round it off to a round number for the SPX over the next little bit. That will probably be on the cards for the remainder of the week if I'm not wrong, Ty.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you very much for sharing that with everyone. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. UnityTradingGroup.com. Hit that subscribe button. Come over and have a play inside the Discord. Everything that we do here, 99.9% of what we do here at UTG is free and for you, the beginner to advanced trader. So we look forward to seeing you. Of course, we'll see you on the next market update. Look after yourselves and see you next time.
See you then.